Hey kids, it's Mr. Fly here, hope you're well. Out and about on another bike review, and today I'm on another Yamaha. This is the Dakar inspired Super Tenere. Stick around, stay tuned, I'll tell you what I think of her. So I'm pretty excited to be on this bike. I've never ridden a Super Tenere before, and the reason why I'm excited is because these bikes do have a real history for Yamaha. When I said that it's Dakar inspired, that's because back in the late 70s, these bikes, in the form of what was there, I think the XT1200Z was basically winning the initial Dakar rallies. In fact, I think they won the first 2 or 3 before they got any serious competition from the likes of the bike that was the BMW R80 GS, the forerunner of the modern day GS, if you like. And it really did wipe the floor with all other bikes in that grueling event. And Yamaha created the first Super Tenere as a result of those wins, and it looks very much like a Dakar bike still to this day. And that's sort of where its DNA comes from. So it's very much in the adventure category. It's a comfortable, upright, powerful bike, and it's one I've been looking forward to riding for a while. So it wouldn't be a bike review without being stuck behind a white van for a while, would it? But hopefully I'll get a chance to overtake him in a minute, or at least lose him somehow. Anyway, the first thing that struck me about the bike when I jumped on is the riding position. It's quite different to other big adventure bikes that I've ridden, and I've of late been riding obviously my own BMW GS a lot, and also the KTM Super Adventure, so I'm quite well versed with how adventure bikes feel, big adventure bikes. And this one feels quite different to those two bikes in actually quite a good way. It's a very comfortable riding position in that your arms are a little bit wider, well, quite a bit wider actually than those other two bikes I just mentioned, and also a little bit further back. So it feels pretty comfortable in terms of your sitting upright. It feels more like you're in an armchair rather than riding a bike. And your legs are tucked in a relatively sporty position. You're at an acute angle with the pegs just slightly behind your bum cheeks, if you see what I mean. But it's actually a very comfortable riding position to be in, and I think you could ride this for miles. It's got the legendary, normal, comfortable Yamaha seat as well, with lots of padding, so no problems on the comfort front. The next thing that struck me riding the bike is actually just how light it feels. I mean, it is a big old bike, and it's one of those bikes that's a bit daunting when you walk up to it. You think, gosh, that's a big machine, am I going to be able to handle it? But actually, you needn't worry at all. It feels really light when you ride it. In fact, I'd say it feels unbelievably lighter than the KTM Super Adventure when you're actually rolling the thing. And I was also a little bit afraid that the centre of gravity might be high up on this, like it is on the Ducati Multistrada. But actually I haven't noticed that. It feels pretty low, and there's no problem riding the bike slow. One thing that's not so good though, and something that I've just noticed riding along this road here now, is that there's a bit of turbulent air that comes off this screen. It would be easily fixed with an aftermarket screen, or even probably with adjusting this particular screen. And you can adjust this, hello sir, albeit manually with these 2 knobs here. But that's the sort of thing you don't probably want to do on the fly unless you want to ride no-handed, which I don't recommend. But yeah, at least with my helmet and with this screen, I am getting a little bit of turbulence off the top of the screen, even at relatively low speed. So I'm just coming to a 40 limit here, and I'm still feeling a bit of turbulence off there. So that's one thing that's not quite so good. There's nothing behind me. Let me just test the brakes. Okay, the front brake adequate. It's not eye-popping. That's certainly not as good as the class-leading bikes, but they work fine. No wheel worries there. And let's just try the rear. Actually, the rear brake is pretty good, which is unusual. Often rear brakes on bikes are a bit rubbish, but no, that's fine. Something I also like about this bike is the way it's not really pretending to be something that it's not. It is a big adventure bike, but it's got everything here that you need, and nothing else besides, if you see what I mean. It's just when you look at things like the display, it's kind of utilitarian. It's got everything on there that you need. You can clearly see the speed you're doing, and you can clearly see the various settings on the right hand side and the information menu. But it looks like something you might find in a bit of military equipment. It's like something out of a modern day tank, or at least how I imagine it to be. I actually quite like that. It's got some sort of rugged good looks about it. And if you were going to actually take part in the Dakar, then maybe this would be the good bike to do it in. Or on, I should say. Whilst we're on the practical side of the bike as well, just things like the mirrors work really nicely. Not too sure about the shape of them. They seem quite small to look at, but there's no vibration. They're easily adjustable, and I'm not just looking at my elbows or my shoulders, so that's quite nice. I mentioned earlier the seat comfort, which is nice on this. The other thing about the seat is it is adjustable for height, which is great news. Some of these big adventure bikes can really be big in terms of height and makes them inaccessible to shorter riders. I'm not a particularly big chap at 5'8", but this one I've got currently set on its lowest setting and I can get my feet flat on the floor, no problem at all. Got a lovely engine note, and the engine's got loads of go as well. It's one of those bikes that just seems to have a endless wave of torque that you can ride, which makes it, you know, if you want it to be nice and lazy ride, you don't have to change gear too much if you want to be lazy. Let's go down this road. I've never been down here. Let's do a bit of exploring, as it's a adventure bike. Single track road. Okay, I might regret this. The clutch action on it is actually quite heavy. It's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just heavier than I'm used to. Now the suspension on this I've actually got currently set at its softest level. It's one of these clever suspension setups where you can actually adjust the preload electronically, and it's got a soft, normal and hard setting, and then within the soft you can go down to -3, which is the softest, and in hard you can go to +3, which is the hardest. So there is some adjustment there, but to be honest, fiddling through them as I did do earlier, I can't tell that much difference between them. I just don't think I've got a very sensitive backside to these things. That's not, again, necessarily a bad thing. I find the same on my BMW GS. Gosh, it's like Piccadilly Circus down here. Oh, did you get a reverse? Very nice. So kind. Thank you. Very decent of her. I often assume that cars don't realise how difficult it is for motorcyclists in these situations, because obviously we don't have a reverse gear, and often I've found myself paddling backwards on a bike for ages because a car just assumes it's easier to manoeuvre a bike, which of course isn't the case. Where on earth am I going? Blimey, I like the look of the decorators around here. So having said I've got the suspension on its softest setting, it doesn't feel that soft to me, it just feels quite nice. I've got absolutely no idea where I am. Let's go this way. Okay, so what I need to do now is find myself a reasonable level little spot to show you around the bike and talk you through the spec. Actually, this has turned into a great road that I've found by mistake. Must come down here again. Yeah, the bike handle's really lovely. These wide handlebars make it really easy to manhandle the bike around the corners. But she does have a good sense of balance. No quick shifter or anything like that on the bike. Again, it's relatively basic compared to the sort of top spec adventure bikes that you can get now, but then of course that's reflected in the price too. Another thing that's worth mentioning on here is just the switchgear. Proper Yamaha buttons on here. It's got cruise control, which is nice over on the left hand side, and then this big button on the top here is what you move through the various menu items on the right hand screen here. Pretty easy to use, quite intuitive. They just feel nice and tactile, those buttons. So top marks to Yamaha for that. Yeah, the bike picks up really well. Acceleration is lovely. Certainly not one of those bikes where you think you're lacking in horsepower. Right, let's find somewhere good to do a little bit of a walk around and talk you through the spec on the bike. Let's head down here. This is one of my favourite little spots. Let's try this little lane here. Can sometimes get really muddy down here, so I hope I'm not going to completely spoil a nice clean bike. Oh no, it doesn't look too bad. Uh-oh, off-road on a demo bike, never good. Sorry Sam, we'll get dirt on your bike, mate. Actually it rides quite nicely on this dirt track. Just try standing up on her. Yeah, the balance standing up, really nice actually. Fuel tank is shaped such that you can grip it nicely between the legs, and standing up on it feels really natural. Really good. Alright, what about if I pull over here and do the walk round? Okay, so getting my feet on the deck, actually look, I'm on the balls of my feet, but as I said, the weight is such that it doesn't feel like it's going to fall over or anything like that. Right, we're in neutral. Stands a bit fiddly to get down. Well, it has got a big lever on the side to get hold of. There we go. Right, hopefully no cars will come down here and stop me fun. Here she is then, the 2017 Yamaha Super Tenere. I think it looks an absolute beast. Maybe could do with a bit of a beak, would probably improve its looks, but I quite like the front end of this. I actually like that it's symmetrical, and it looks a little bit like the Africa Twin, doesn't it? That sort of thing. Although I suppose you should argue the Africa Twin looks a little bit like this, as this was out first. Anyway, let me get the other camera out and we'll go through the specs as usual. Okay, there we go. Hopefully you can get a good view of that. So here we are, as I say, 2017 Super Tenere from Yamaha. Nice looking machine, and in terms of the spec, the engine on here is actually an 1199cc twin. And one of the good things about this, as adventure bikes go, it's actually shaft drive as well. If I come around here I can show you that. Here we go, so no chain maintenance to worry about, which is a definite plus with this sort of bike, so well done Yamaha for doing that. And the other thing while we're down here, which is of interest, is this exhaust pipe. Look, it has a sort of this downward pointing bit at the end, which looks kind of cool, but I think it's probably, just so it doesn't burn the indicator, is probably what that's all about. But anyway, so there we are, and then around the front here we've got a massive exhaust, and then at the front we've got an awful lot of fairing, which is good for weather protection. And then that symmetrical front end, which, as I say, probably could do with a beak. But a nice looking bike, and it's got Yamaha's usual build quality about it. If I just come and show you the tank, the paint on Yamaha's is always very, very lustrous. And then there's that switchgear that I like so much on the Yamaha as well, and the utilitarian looking display. Right, that's enough about that. What about the spec then? Well, let's just check out my notes. In terms of power, according to the website, 82.4 kilowatts at 7,250 RPM. I have no idea what a kilowatt is, so I'll look that up. It's 110 HP. So not super powerful as these things go. Not up there with things like the KTM Super Adventure, but it's on a par with the BMW GS, I suppose. Well, maybe not quite. The GS, I think, puts out 125 horsepower, but this doesn't feel underpowered in any way. As I say, it's 110 is more than enough. Torque 117 newton meters, or in the old money 86.3 foot-pounds at 6,000 RPM. Brakes on it, let's have a look at those. It's got these big old pedalled front discs that look the business, but don't work that well, I have to say, but they're adequate. The brakes actually are linked as well. Both wheels operate with just the front lever, and you can configure that as well, so that doesn't happen, or you can adjust the degree by which the back brake operates with the front. It's got ABS, of course, as it's Euro 4 compliant. Suspension, fully adjustable front and rear suspension. You don't need tools for that. As I say, you can do that electronically from the dash. Seat height adjustable between 845mm, which is where I've got it set at the moment. Very easy to adjust. You just pop off the rider's seat, flip over a plastic bracket, and then put it on the lower setting. So that's quite a nice feature. Weight wise, it's 257 kilograms, so quite heavy as adventure bikes go, but as I say, it just doesn't feel heavy at all. It's really lightweight and flickable when you're riding it. And in fact, when I did the research for this review, looking at the website, the designers said that one of their design goals was to mass centralise the bike to make it easy to ride, and they've done a good job there. Feels really nice and light. And the other thing that I didn't mention, I think, about the engine is it's got 270 degree crank, which makes that nice note as well, so thumbs up to Yamaha for that. Tank capacity, massive, 23 litres. It looks a big old tank, and it's sculpted really nice. Feels comfortable to your legs, both when you're sat down and when you stood up. So yeah, 23 litres, very usable. It's got ride-by-wire, of course. It's got switchable traction control, which you can turn off, and it's got what Yamaha call D-mode engine mappings. It's got a couple of engine modes that you can swap between. Price on the road, 11,599. So, you know, pretty reasonable pricing. Still expensive. These big bikes are expensive, but compared to things like the GS and the KTM Super Adventure, cheaper. Okay, I think that's probably pretty much it. All the spoke wheels on here are an option, by the way, and these ones, as you can see, they've got this clever thing they do, so it means you can have spoke wheels that are actually tubeless, I like what they've done with that. And the tyres on here, by the looks of it, are Bridgestone Battle Wings, which for this light off-roading that we've got here seem to be absolutely fine. Alright, that's enough of that. Let's get back on, do some more riding. Alrighty, so she hangs over quite a long way on the side stand, but no problem picking her up. Let's get this thing started again. Okay, so I'm hoping there's going to be somewhere I can turn around up here. She actually feels very natural on the dirt, I have to say. I hope I'm not going to regret saying that. But these Bridgestone tyres feel good. I mean, they look like they're sort of 90% on-road, but for a bit of light off-road stuff, like the odd green lane, then no problem at all. If this is anything to go by. And this is sort of horrible gravel, which is the thing that I hate most riding on. And for a bike that, you know, I'm unfamiliar with, it seems pretty straightforward. Nice one. Riding at slow speeds doesn't seem to be a problem on the bike. Ride by wire throttle is not snatchy or anything like that. Hello. Right, and hopefully I haven't got the bike too dirty for the guys, which I must just say thanks to Brian Gray's Power Biking once again for letting me borrow the bike and making this review possible. Sam and the guys up at Power Biking very kind to me, always happy to let me take bikes out and do these reviews. So thanks to them for that. If you've not been along and you're in the sort of High Wycombe area, do check them out. Amazing dealership. It's a bit like the TARDIS in there. Got loads of bikes and loads of accessories as well. Well worth a visit if you're around the area. Oh, and I'm doubly lucky today. I picked up another 2 white vans. Excellent news. Right, before I take the bike back, what I'd really like to do is just ride the bike through town, see how she does in a bit of traffic. So I guess this is fairly typical sort of commuting type traffic. And the bike, really nice actually in the urban environment. It's got a great presence because it is such a big bike. And because you're sitting upright, you can really see nicely through the traffic as well. As I said earlier, the mirrors work well, so you can you get good situational awareness, you can see what's around you. And because she feels nice and light, if you need to, you can filter on this. So actually, as an all-rounder, if you are only going to buy one bike and it needs to fulfill all missions for fun, touring and commuting, this could certainly do that. So there we have it. That's just about it for my first impressions review of the Yamaha Super Tenere. This is the 2017 model. What can I say? I mean, it's just a no-nonsense, really nice motorcycle. Now, people, you know, can often level that you never say bad things about bikes because you just want to be nice to the dealer. Well, I do want to be nice to the dealer, they're nice people, but I've talked to them about this before. They're more than happy for me to say exactly what I think about the bike, and this bike, there's really nothing about it that I can say that I've found that's bad. Maybe I don't much like the look of this bit of cable here, minor point, and the front brake could perhaps be better. But other than that, as I say, this is a no-nonsense, good bike, loads of power, comfortable, great as an all-rounder, looks good, goes well, really like it, and at less than 12 grand, a real, you know, possible alternative to some of the more popular or more talked about big adventure bikes. If you're in the market for this sort of thing, or if you're looking at even things like maybe the Ducati 950 and the Triumph Tiger 800s, it might be worth just having a little go on one of these, just to see if you prefer the bigger engine and the bigger stance of this bike against those, even though obviously this is in a slightly different category. Anyway, I hope that's been of some interest to you, and I look forward to speaking to you next time. If this is the first time you've seen one of my videos, then it'd be great to have you subscribe. I don't just do bike reviews, but I do trips and tours, product reviews and how-tos, and also, of course, I come out on as many bikes as I can, and it'd be great to have you subscribe if you've not done so already. That way you won't miss anything. Okay, until next time, this has been the Mr. Flyer. Cheerio.